in that old curiosity shop.
Well, okay, here I am, everyone, out here in my father's old workshop, and today I'm going to work on the first half, may be able to get the whole thing finished, of these wonderful 1920s electric lamps. Well, they were electric lamps until someone ripped off the sockets. I imagine the cords were all frayed and whatnot, and someone just decided to turn these into candlestick holders. They date to the 1920s, and my goal is to convert these back to as original as possible electric lamps from the 1920s. And these would have been what you would call boudoir lamps, small pairs of lamps like this, usually used on a vanity, on little bedroom dressers, that kind of thing, but even on fireplace mantel pieces, and sometimes, if they're larger than this, on buffets in small-sized dining rooms. Now, they're made out of spelter or pot metal or monkey metal, which is a very inexpensive metal. It was very easy and inexpensive to cast lamps such as these out of pot metal, but pot metal can be very brittle. It doesn't respond well to being stored in an attic for 80 years, but the pot metal on these happens to be in pretty good condition. Now, this is exactly how I found them in the thrift shop. I'm going to be showing you some other pieces that I have here that I plan to use to restore these, but let's get those out of the way as to not confuse you. Now, I have to make a decision. I like things as original as possible. And I want to preserve the original finish on these lamps if I can. And if we look very closely, we can see that there is a nice design here. We have these pooties that are dancing around with these tambourines and having a very nice time. There's not, every time you put a coat of paint on here, you lose detail. And the relief is pretty fine, especially on these leaves down here and on the sides. So if I go and spray this with a whole new color of paint and then try to put another patina over top of it, I'm going to be losing some detail. But I also really don't feel like going through the hassle of stripping these. And this is probably the close to the original coat of paint that's on these. And I say that because if we look closely right here, let me see. If I go and take a screwdriver, you can already see a lot of the paint. Some of the paint has chipped off. Now, where do I get where you can see it? See it right here. You see, that's the pot metal underneath. And this paint in this little spot right here is just chipping right off. And we can see that underneath, there's the original pot metal. I don't think that there was ever a second coat of paint put on these. Having said that, I'm going to preserve the finish on these as they are. Now, what I'm going to be using to restore these is, hold on and I'll show you. I'll be right back. Okay, let me show you what I consider hideous. If I were to take these lamps and go out to the big box department stores, hardware stores, and get myself a cheap looking brand new brass socket like that and stick that on there, and then go and get some modern cord like this or even this, that kind of puts me off. I, as you know, am into original looking, so there's no way I'm going to be using these new materials. No! And definitely old-fashioned sockets. And let's get them next to each other and see how much you can know there, but might not look like much of a big deal, but to the eye of a connoisseur, that's brand new, that's 90 years old, even though this one has been polished. Okay? All right, so let's put all this aside for the moment, and let me go and get the pieces of equipment that I need, and I'll be right back. Okay, now what I just did was pull out these little candle holders, which were actually screwed down into the top where the sockets would have originally gone. I'm going to be using old sockets that actually have no switches on them. These will fit down in here beautifully. There's no on and off switch because I plan on having the on-off switch on the actual cord itself. And since these are vanity lamps, they're going to be plugged into an outlet on a wall that has a light switch. That's how I plan on operating these. And I'm just not going to use sockets that have on-off switches on them. I've also decided that instead of using my beautiful reproduction lamp cord, which does add extra expense, I'm just going to go ahead and use this more modern cord. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, since I'm keeping this original paint, is I'm just going to touch up a few of these little spots where the paint has completely chipped off. And so, hang in there. I can't find my little tiny paint brushes. I don't know what I've done with them. So I'm just going to take some of this metallic gold paint, spray a little bit here inside the lid, dip one of my Q-tips in there, and let's see, that one looks pretty good. Let's just patch this up. How about that? You'll never know. When I finish this, you'll just never know. Now down here there's a few more spots that are missing. Cover it in like that. Let's see, right up under there. And let me grab up here so I don't get paint all over myself. A little spot right there. Now this is a little bit of a different color, slightly, but it's going to blend right in when I put the final patina on here. Let's see, just go around the rim a little bit. I'm not trying to make these look new. If I wanted something new, I'd go out to IKEA or Walmart or poor old J.C. Penney if it's still hanging on, and I'd buy something new. But that ain't gonna happen. Alright. You see, it's working pretty well. Now this is the back of the lamp because you can see that's where the electric cords come out. I'm not really worried too much about the back because they'll never be turned around in the other direction. A bit more right there on his arm, his tambourine arm. And we wore off some right here. I did clean these, by the way. I didn't show you that. I took a very fine 4/0 steel wool and went over them. Get some of the old dirt off. And I think I'm pleased with that one. I'll go over here to this one and touch him up. See, this is I'm just using the wet spray paint from the inside of the lid into which I sprayed it. But I think I need a little bit more here. Try not to breathe that in. I've got a lot of ventilation where I am, so that's good. I'm hoping this comes up on camera. It's hard to tell when you're filming yourself. You don't really know what it's going to look like. So you get it home and start editing, and then you find out that you had it on the wrong speed or the camera's upside down. Okay. Oh, my clock stopped. Yeah, I had a feeling it would. I've got to do some work on that clock as well. The steeple clock that you see behind me. Those were mostly made in the Connecticut, along the Connecticut coast. And very popular from, the 1850s, 1840s really, into the into the 1890s. That's going to be a, well, we're not talking about that clock right now. Stay focused. Okay, let me just get a few of the points up here. And we're going to be ready for phase 2. There's lots of different ways you can restore, or you can restore or refinish. I am not a fan of refinish. I am a fan of restore. And there's a difference between the two, of course. To each his own, I suppose. But if I decide to keep these lamps, and I probably will, I'm going to do it the way I like it. Okay, put these next to each other. Turn that light on. All right. Now it may look glaringly bright in this light, but I assure you there's a nice warm look to it, and you'll see that when I actually finish the lamps completely. Here's a spot where it's really flaking off. And so let me go ahead and take care of that. Okay. We'll let those dry. I'm going to move on to another project, and then we'll come back to this. Well, I'd like to give you a wide-angle view of where I'm working. I'm actually out on my dad's old workbench, and you remember me telling you these are the ancient coffee cans that were always in my dad's workshop. I think some of these cans are 60 years old. They have to be. He would save every nut and bolt and screw. Your father and grandfather probably did the exact same thing. This is priceless to me because most of the stuff that you see out here, look at all these old square head nails and things. He saved everything. And so this is where I like to come and work. All the tools are hanging just where they were. And this is only, just one little workbench. But this is where I like to spread myself out and do all the work here. Okay, what's going to happen now is, well, let me back up. All right, so I have done all of the paint touch-ups, and I got to looking around here, and I actually found what I knew I had, but couldn't find. Here's the old can of gold paint I was going to use, but I couldn't find it. Well, the spray paint that I used worked out just perfectly well. You can barely see where I did the touch-ups. But because I cleaned these with a 4/0 steel wool, they're a little shinier and just a little bit brighter than I'd like them to be. So what we're going to do is restore sort of an antique patina. Now what I've got here is just some Minwax wood stain, just a cheap can of stain, wood stain. This is special walnut. A medium-size dark tone works best. Nothing like red mahogany, light oak or provincial or anything like that is going to be too light. And what this is going to do is, when we're done with this, it's going to give it this warm, old-fashioned look. It's going to be really nice. So just take a folded-up paper towel there. Get that out of the way and get it up in here where you can see. Now I'm going to let this gather in the crevices. really are going to be able to see a difference once it's complete. It's just enough, it's going to darken it just enough, and you can actually give it a second coat once it's dry, and that'll put even more of a patina on it. You see we're letting it sort of gather in the crevices. The more I put on, the better it gets. Again, you're seeing it in the bright light. I'm not sure whether you see the difference or not. You'll have to just trust me on this and wait until the finished product, and you'll see. The key is don't be too fussy about it. Just, you know, splash it on there and let it gather in the cracks and crevices. That's going to give you a beautiful old look, a nice old finish. Oh yeah, that's really going to be nice. It's really going to make it look like no one has touched it in since about 1925. Just get up in here, and then I'll set it aside. The key to making this look right is to really get it on there pretty thickly. Don't be too timid about it, as if you're using a paintbrush. Get it on there and let it dry, and then do it a second time. But it looks great. All right, now we'll do the other one, and then once these are dry, we'll do a second coat, and then a clear lacquer, and then we'll wire them up. Okay, now what I've decided to do on these lamps is not to use my expensive reproduction wire. This is really only when you're really going to be seeing the wire. These are going to go on a dresser. The wires are going to hang behind the dresser into an outlet behind the dresser. You're never going to see electrical cord except maybe half an inch. So I'm just going to be using some old line cord. Now, since I plan on keeping these lamps, I have no problem using mixed cords. It's perfectly safe. I'm going to wire them correctly, and this doesn't bother me at all. So in order to wire these up correctly, we want to make sure that we get that polarization correct. Well, the first thing I'll do with my wire cutters is just split them right here. Again, you're going to have to ignore these dirty fingernails. It's just the way it is. It's not really dirt, it's stain, because I was staining a little earlier. Right up through the hole in the back and up the center. And this may take a moment to get it out the top. I know you can't really see what I'm doing. Fishing it, there we go. Okay, now I'm out the top. These already have the plugs attached, so this just makes it easier. By the way, there they are. I'm still going to do a little bit of work on the finish, so you can stay tuned for that. All right, now we'll take the wires, split them. Actually, let me take the bottom of the socket and put that through. The cardboard insulator is important. That should be there, and you can see that it is still there on this one. Feed this down, and I'm going to go ahead and twist it in place. And that screws on nice and tightly, just like that. All right, so there's the bottom of the socket back in place where someone had put a candle. All right, now we can do the splitting of the wire. And we're going to make sure we wire these correctly so that we get the polarization as it should be. Not a big deal with these little lamps, but we're going to do it right. So if you don't have a black and a white wire, feel each one. This one has ridges on it, and this one is smooth. You may not be able to see that. This is completely smooth. This one has the ridges on it. The one with the ridges is neutral. Okay? The smooth is the hot. And the hot is going to go to the brass. The brass, on your sockets, you're going to have a brass socket, a brass terminal, and a silver. The brass is hot. The smooth wire is hot. The wire with the ridges on it, or the writing on it, is neutral. And our silver screw is neutral. All right, that's the correct polarization. You often see people just doing it willy-nilly, but I'm going to do it the right way. Off comes the insulation. Twist it clockwise. 1, 2, 3. Off it comes. And again, twist it clockwise. All right, now we'll take our, what did I do with my, there it is. Okay, so let's do the brass, which is the hot. That's the hot, the brass, and the smooth wire here is the one that's hot. So we're going to turn it into a candy cane or a shepherd's crook. Your choice. And stick it in there. And what I'm going to do is twist this clockwise. That's important. It's important that the wire goes in and you twist the screw clockwise. Otherwise it will fray on you and it won't suck the wire in. It'll spit it out backwards. So we don't want that to happen. Alright, so there we go. And what makes this safe is when we put our brass sleeve back on, you want to make sure that it has a cardboard insert. Don't worry if it's a little burnt around the top from the light bulb. That's not going to make a difference. What's important is that when this is in place, the cardboard is going to actually cover up this wire and shield it from touching the outside of the socket. All right, that's good and tight. Now you'll notice I did not tie an underwriter's knot, what they call, because I'm not going to be yanking on these table lamps. They're going to sit in place. There are no children that are going to be running around tugging at them, so I really don't need an underwriter's knot. All right, now the silver screw is the neutral. That's the one that will get the juice when you flip the switch. All right, that keeps the outside of the socket from being hot. You see, so the reason for the polarization is, if you'll notice, the brass screw, the brass terminal, this is the one that's hot. This is going to stay hot, okay? We want the outside of the socket to have no electricity flowing through it when the light switch is turned off. Just in case somebody touches it while they're trying to put a light bulb in or something, this will only shock you if the light switch is on and you touch it. And when the light switch is off, this is not hot, meaning there's no electric current on it. All right, so we've got our polarization done correctly. The wires are all pulled in as they should be. Now, what I like to do, what did I do with my, here it is. I want to get my cardboard sleeve on there first and then twist it into place, because I want to make sure, absolutely certain, that it is shielded. All right, the socket is in place. Now, as you can see, the cardboard sleeve, the mounting screws are positioned to where they're deep inside of the cardboard insulator, which is what we want. Now we'll just fish this down, and it will snap into place. Listen for that lovely sound. There it is. Now I'm going to really tighten it. All right, it's completely in there. Exactly as it should be. And now again, remember, I don't have any on-off switches installed on these yet. So we'll back this one up. That's one. Haven't done the other one yet. But there's one that has its, that's all wired up and ready to go. Okay, now before we plug it in and turn it on and put a lampshade on it, there are two holes here, and what would have hung from this would have been teardrop style, one single prism. One piece. They came in many colors in the 20s. They could be amber, they could be they could be blue opaline, they could be green, many different colors. I don't have any right now, but to give you the effect, I'm just going to be using some glass prisms that came off of that are sort of chandelier pieces. Now again, this is not what I'm going to be using eventually. I'll have on here what I want. But this gives you the idea. So we could do that, or we could hang these on there, larger ones. But for now, well, let's do a compare and contrast. Why not? Even though we're not all wired up over here yet. And remember, this is just temporary until I get the teardrop prisms, which is what I really want. Well, what do you... Well, what on earth? Did I get that? That hole seems to be gummed up with something. Well, I'll tell you, you always have to be prepared. I don't know what's going on there. I guess I got something in it. Well, hold on. Okay, now we've got it. Okay, so now we have two different examples. Which one do you like temporarily? These long dangly things, or these Hope diamonds over here? It's just temporary. Let's get that one out of the way, and let me go and get a couple of shades. Hold on. Now this is a little on the frilly side for me, and a little pink, but this is sort of what might have been on these. Well, just for the fun of it, we'll stick that on there. Boy, that's really looking Downton Abbey, isn't it? Let me re-angle my camera before we turn on the light for the big reveal. Hold on. Let's get you down here where you can get a closer look. All right. Now, let's back this up. Isn't this exciting? Turn that off. Get this out of the way. This is more my style, but for right now, we'll use this. Okay, let's get it to where you can really see it. Nope. Back up some more. Okay, are you still with me? All right, you ready for the plug-in? Actually, let's get. It's too busy back there. There. How's that? Is that better? Now you're really going to be able to see what we're doing. Let me. Hold on, folks. I want this to be dramatic. I mean, this is the moment you're waiting for. You know, the big reveal, right? The big reveal is so important. Well, there it is. What do you think? You like that? There it is. Well, there's one finished lamp. I still have the other one to complete. But what do you think? I think that it turned out nicely. And I'm really going to like it better when I get the proper prisms hanging from it. But these are okay for now. It's an appropriate shade. It's what you might find on a lamp like this in the 1930s. I'm glad that I didn't strip these and try to repaint them. I think restoring the old finish was definitely worth it. And I really like the warm color that you get when, remember, it's the stain, just the old regular Minwax stain. And then I did spray these with some satin lacquer. I might buff it down just a little bit, but overall, I'm very happy. Let's turn it on. Well, okay, there it is. That's it. One more to go, and we'll come back and see these again later when I have the prisms and the other one completed and all lit up on an old 1920s dresser. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little lamp restoration. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop saying thanks for watching, and so long for now.